Have you ever just looked at, say, a top athlete, someone really at the peak of their game,
Oh, yeah. All the time.
and just wondered, how do they do that? That kind of focus, that dedication?
It seems almost superhuman sometimes, doesn't it?
Totally. So today, we're taking a bit of a fun look at what fuels that drive.
And more importantly, perhaps, what we, everyday folks can learn from it.
Right. How can we maybe borrow some of that magic to help us stick to our own goals? Whether that's, I don't know, hitting the gym or finally learning that thing we keep putting off.
Exactly. And we've got some interesting stuff to draw on today. We're really digging into a video featuring a behavioral science expert, Brett Treasure.
Okay.
And we're also layering in some research specifically about how parents can influence kids in sports. There's some fascinating stuff on gymnastics, actually. So, yeah, the mission today is kind of understanding motivation, where it comes from, how you keep it going.
Gotcha. So for you listening, have you ever wondered how these athletes stay so incredibly driven?
And maybe thought, how can I find that kind of staying power? Okay, so kicking things off, the video we mentioned from Stake Something, it lays out these two basic types or flavors of motivation.
Right. Let's start there. What's the first one?
First up is intrinsic motivation. And this is the one we often think drives everyone.
Intrinsic. So from within.
Exactly. As Treasure puts it in the video, it's from within, something we just like doing, something consistent with our identity, a thing we can concentrate on without trying.
Like doing something just because you love it.
Precisely. He gives examples like writing, just the sheer joy of it, or getting totally absorbed in a crossword puzzle.
Or maybe even something physical like weeding.
Yeah.
If you actually enjoy that sort of thing.
Right. It's that feeling of flow where you're just lost in the activity itself. It feels effortless almost.
Okay, makes sense. So what's the other side of the coin?
That would be extrinsic motivation. And this is driven by, external stuff.
External, like rewards
Hmm.
or pressure.
Yep. Things like money, getting a bonus, maybe praise, or it could be rules you have to follow, or just being told what to do.
Got it. So intrinsic is internal joy. Extrinsic is external factors pushing and pulling you.
You've got it. Now, here's where it gets interesting, especially with those elite athletes we started with.
Okay. What's the twist?
Well, we tend to assume they're just purely running on that intrinsic fuel, right? They just love the game, love the training.
Yeah, that's the image, isn't it? Pure passion.
It is. But the research tells a slightly different story, especially about how they start. Overwhelmingly, the research shows that they were extrinsically motivated by their parents.
Wait, really? By their parents? So it wasn't always just love of the sport from day one?
Apparently not in many, many cases. The initial push, the decision to really commit to intensive training, often came from outside.
Huh. That kind of links into the other research you mentioned, doesn't it? The parental influence studies.
It really does. There's this one study which found that elite athletes were much more likely to have parents who were sporty themselves.
Interesting. Like recreational or competitive?
Both, actually. But it was especially noticeable if the father was involved and, pretty skilled.
Wow. So maybe they provided that initial environment, that expectation.
Seems likely. And then there's that study on Brazilian gymnasts, Olympic-level gymnasts, mind you.
Right. You mentioned gymnastics. What did that show?
It's called Parental Support in Sports Development. And the gymnasts themselves consistently talked about how vital their families, especially parents, were.
Vital in what way?
Getting started, but also sticking with it. Providing transport, paying for things, emotional support, pushing them through the really tough times, especially early on. They acted as role models.
So the parents were essentially that initial extrinsic motivator, the external nudge.
That seems to be a very common pattern. They provide that structure, maybe that belief, before the kid fully develops their own deep-seated passion.
Okay, that's fascinating. But
Yeah.
people do develop that passion eventually, right?
Yeah.
Athletes don't just keep going because their parents told them to.
Absolutely not. And this is the crucial next step, the magic that happens in the brain.
The neuroscience bit.
Yeah. The Stake Something video says, after you've been doing something, it shifts from extrinsic to intrinsic. You just start using the habitual pathway in the brain.
Okay, hold on. Habitual pathway. So doing it enough actually rewires things?
Essentially, yes. Once something becomes habitual, it's then not mentally challenging to do it. Your brain automates it.
Like driving a car. At first you're thinking about every little thing.
Exactly. And then it becomes second nature. He talks about how initially it was this huge mental effort just to get himself out the door for a run, a real battle.
I think many of us can relate to that.
For sure. But he says eventually it just flipped. It became automatic. He'd just go, No internal debate needed.
The habit took over.
Precisely. And this is such a key insight for you listening if you're trying to start something new.
How so?
Because any new habit, anything unfamiliar, exercise, learning an instrument, changing your diet, it feels hard at first because your brain is working hard, forging those new connections.
Right, it's not on autopilot yet.
Not at all. But consistency, repetition,
Yeah.
that strengthens those pathways. It's like walking the same route through grass, eventually a clear path forms.
And then it gets easier to follow that path.
Yeah.
Less mental energy required.
You got it. The resistance drops.
Okay, so let's bring this back to someone trying to make a change. If they're struggling, what does this tell them?
Well, Treasure puts it pretty bluntly in the video. He says, essentially, if you were intrinsically motivated in this area, you'd already be doing it, and you're not.
Ouch. Harsh, but maybe true. If you truly love doing it already, you wouldn't be struggling to start.
That's the logic, yeah. It means that deep, inherent enjoyment probably isn't there yet.
Yet. That's the important word.
Absolutely. Because the video also makes the point that while long-term motivation intrinsic is what you need, that's what keeps you going. You can't fool yourself into being intrinsically motivated right at the beginning.
You can't just flick a switch and suddenly love doing burpees or filing taxes.
Wouldn't that be nice? No, you can't force it. Intrinsic motivation is great for sustaining something, but intrinsic is lousy at getting you started.
Okay. So intrinsic is the goal for the long haul. Keeps things going smoothly.
Right, it's self-sustaining.
But it's not usually the spark that lights the fire. You need something else to just get going.
Exactly. You need that initial push, which brings us back full circle.
To extrinsic motivation.
Yes, that external nudge. Things like getting a coach, someone external to guide you, hold you accountable, or, and he seems quite confident about this one, staking money on your goal.
Putting your money where your mouth is. Literally.
Seems to work. He says go get a coach
Yeah.
or stake some money on whether or not you're going to do the action or, of course, do both.
Interesting. So creating external consequences or support systems.
Exactly. And think back to the athletes and their parents.
Right. The parents were acting as that early external force.
They provided the coaching, the schedule, the encouragement. They were the external structure that got the ball rolling. The Brazilian gymnast stories really hammer this home, that family support was crucial to navigating the early difficulties.
Okay, so it's okay if the reason you start isn't some deep, pure passion. It could be something external.
Not just, okay, that seems it's often necessary. And here's the really encouraging part from the video. Research shows it doesn't matter what got you started in the first place.
Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Yeah.
The brain actually forgets that you started off with an external shove. Once the habit forms, once maybe that intrinsic enjoyment starts to bubble up through competence and routine,
The original reason fades away.
it becomes irrelevant. The behavior is now driven by the habit itself, or potentially by newfound enjoyment.
Okay, wow. So let's sum this up for everyone listening.
Mm.
The big takeaway is what?
I think it's this. If you want to change a behavior, build a new habit, don't beat yourself up if you're not instantly wildly passionate about it.
Right. It's okay not to love it at first.
Totally. Okay. That initial spark often needs to be some kind of external support or consequence, a reason outside of pure enjoyment.
Like getting a coach, joining a group, setting a deadline, telling a friend.
All those things. But the key is consistency. If you use that external push to get started and then keep showing up,
That's when the magic can happen. The brain can automate it, make it easier.
and you might even find you start to genuinely enjoy it, or at least the results and the routine, that extrinsic start can absolutely blossom into intrinsic motivation over time.
The external shove gets you moving, and then habit and maybe even enjoyment can take the wheel.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to chew on, as they say.
What?
Think about one thing, just one thing you've been wanting to do, wanting to start, but haven't.
We all have those.
Could it be that you're waiting for this bolt of intrinsic lightning,
Yeah.
this sudden passion?
And maybe that's not how it needs to begin.
Right. Perhaps all you actually need is a little external nudge, something, anything, to just get you over that starting line.
Find a friend.
Exactly.